This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
One common thing that people complain about ChatGPT and other large language models is they say it forgets things. They say, oh, this model doesn't have a good memory. It gets confused. Well, there's a new ChatGPT feature that might help this. It's called memory, but I think it's maybe a little more marketing than actual function. So we're going to be talking about that today and more on Everyday AI. What's going on, y'all? My name is Jordan Wilson, and I'm the host of Everyday AI. We do this every single day. It's a live stream podcast and free daily newsletter, helping people like you and me just learn and leverage generative AI. So there's always new models, new tools, new features. So we're going to be talking about that today and see if we can help you get a little bit more out of ChatGPT in this instance to grow your company and to grow your career. So if you're new here, please go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for that free daily newsletter. Maybe you can't make the live stream every day. Check us out on the podcast. Maybe you're on the podcast and you want to come hang out at the live stream and ask questions. You can do that too. So always make sure to check the show notes in the podcast for links to do that. So before we get into this new feature from ChatGPT, and we're going to go over some of the pros and the cons. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be using this a whole lot, or at least not relying on it, because it's actually going to be enabled by default once you do enable it. But we're going to get to that in a couple of minutes. But before we get to that, we're going to start as we always do. Well, not as we always do with the AI news. Actually, a quick reminder. Let's just go into the AI news. All right. So there was an athletic director in Baltimore was arrested for using AI to fake an audio recording. So a Baltimore high school athletic director was arrested for allegedly using AI to fake an audio recording of the school's principal, leading to his temporary removal. So the audio clip contained racist comments against Black and Jewish individuals, causing significant repercussions within the school community. There was a 3-month probe by local police, and the FBI concluded that the audio was forged by using AI tools by this high school athletic director. So apparently what happened is the principal had initiated an investigation into the athletic director for potentially mishandling school funds, leading to this retaliatory fake audio creation. Kind of a wild story, but I actually think this is going to become pretty commonplace with how good deep fake audio is and how easy it is now to replicate someone's voice. All right, next piece of AI news. US and China are holding their first high-level talks on artificial intelligence. So the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announced that the U.S. and China will engage in their first intergovernmental dialogue on artificial intelligence in the coming weeks. So the talks aim to address the risks and safety concerns associated with advanced AI technologies. And despite the discussions, no update was provided on the future of Chinese social media giant TikTok during the recent talks in Beijing. Yeah, that's going to be obviously a hot topic here in the next couple of weeks. And the agreement also includes efforts to stabilize and develop U.S.-China relations, expand cultural exchanges, and to consult on international and regional issues. Yeah, I think the conversation on artificial intelligence is going to be an important one for the two different heads of state to have. I'd say right now, the U.S. is in first, second, and third place when it comes to artificial intelligence and generative AI development. But I'd say China is probably right there after, right? It isn't really a race so far, I would say, but China is, I would say, top 3 world power when it does come to artificial intelligence, specifically when it comes to large language models. Speaking of large language models, last but not least, Elon Musk's XAI startup is nearing $6 billion in a new fundraising round. So XAI Corporation, which is Elon Musk's AI startup, is on the verge of closing a $6 billion fundraising round, according to reports. The fundraising would value the company at $18 billion, showcasing significant investor interest in the AI technology. So Sequoia Capital, big name there, among other investors, are set to participate in this funding round. So this move positions XAI to compete with, more established players like OpenAI, Google Gemini, Anthropic's Claude in the AI market. So we'll see how this shakes out. I've said this, I had my show, kind of my prediction show in December for 2024. And I said, hey, there's going to be a lot of noise around XAI and Grok, which is the XAI chatbot platform. I'm like, probably you shouldn't pay attention to it. I still think that's just my personal opinion. I don't see a lot of utility in this specific large language model, considering a lot of it is trained off of Twitter data, which is not the best data. All right, there's going to be more on those stories and a lot other things that we dive into in the newsletter. So if you haven't already signed up, make sure you go do that. And hey, did you not see this yesterday? I know we had a long, super long podcast for our 1-year anniversary, and maybe the newsletter went out a little late. But hey, if you know like 2 friends right now, I think the leader in our giveaway that we just launched was 2. So we are giving away Meta's AI-powered Ray-Ban smart glasses, and our giveaway ends Monday. So all you have to do is refer 1 friend to be entered, but the person who gets the most referrals is going to get their pick from our prize pool, which does include the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So if you've looked at those and you're like, oh, those are cool, and we talked about on the news here the other day, now they have multimodal input and output. So, multimodal input, which is really, really cool. Hey, if you know 3 people, you're going to be in the lead. So make sure to check our newsletter. If you haven't already, you're going to get a unique referral code, and you can go in and, hey, if you refer 3 friends as of like yesterday, you'd be in the lead. All right, so let's get into this new ChatGPT feature. And good morning from everyone joining us live. Dr. Harvey Castro said, hey, he just got the memory feature today. You need to test it out. All right, well, hey, thanks for letting me know, Harvey, because that's what we're going to be doing today. We're not going to be testing it live per se, but we're going to be going over what you need to know. Hey, Michael from YouTube said that he just referred someone hoping he wins. Well, hey, Michael, if you know 1 or 2 more people, you'll probably be in the lead. All right, so let's talk about this new memory feature from ChatGPT. So I'm going to tell you what it is, what it isn't, how it works, and suggest to you if you should use it. So here's how you will know if you have the feature. I wish there was a better way, but essentially you just get a pop-up. If this does sound like something that you're going to be taking advantage of, or if you're a pretty regular ChatGPT user, make sure to look for that pop-up. Also worth noting, if you use ChatGPT on different devices, which is like what I do, you only see the pop-up once. Don't worry. I'm going to share it here, but this kind of just gives you a good overview of what this feature is. It does a couple of things. So I'm going to read kind of the marketing speak here, but don't worry, we're not just going to tell you what it is. We're going to dive into it. ChatGPT says that it now has memory access across chats. That's the important thing here, right? Before, whenever you would start a new chat inside of ChatGPT or any large language model, one of the biggest things is it doesn't remember anything. So let's say that you're, creating a chat in any model, and you're getting some good outputs. Well, what happens then if you go into any other chat? It doesn't know anything that was going on in that chat, right? So let's say you're telling it about your company, you're working on a research project, etc. And then if you start a new chat that's kind of related to that, and if you wanted to recall some of that information, you can't. So that has been one of a pretty common downside of large language models, is they think of it as siloed information. So, when you're clicking new chat, or if you go find an old chat and pick up the conversation, all of that information is siloed, which is obviously a huge downside. So this new feature from OpenAI inside ChatGPT looks to change that. So essentially, it says you can keep the conversation going. It says ChatGPT will carry what it learns between chats, allowing it to provide more relevant responses. It says it becomes more helpful over time. So it says ChatGPT will become more helpful as you chat, continually remembering details and preferences. And then it says manage what it remembers. It says you're in control, review and delete specific memories, restart from scratch, or turn off the feature in settings. All right, so yeah, I'm curious for the rest of you joining live, if you have this feature yet, or if what questions that you have about it. All right, so we're going to get into kind of the details of how it works. We're going to give you a guide, but if you do have questions for our live stream audience, make sure you get them in now. But if you're listening on the podcast, we always leave a link back to this kind of LinkedIn thread. So if you are maybe driving or walking your dog, and I say something, you're like, wait, that doesn't make sense, you can always come back and ask me and I'll answer. All right. So here's what you need to do. Well, number one, you need to enable it in the settings. All right. So this is actually in a different spot than when they first previewed it. And this is also kind of important to talk about. So this is one of the first features that OpenAI has posted publicly about before they did a general rollout. So they actually posted about this 2 months ago, and a lot of people forgot about it. OpenAI put out some information, I think, on their Twitter account, on the blog, on their blog post. And this was 2 months ago. So normally when OpenAI posts about something, they kind of just release it within a day or two, or it has already been a release and it's just a gradual rollout. So if you do have a paid ChatGPT account, I do believe it is only for paid users. They were testing it with free and paid. So if you do have a free account and you go in, and if you see this memory feature, let me know. But I do believe it is only rolling out to paid users. So like I said, when you log in, maybe today or tomorrow, the next time you go in there, you're going to get this pop up, and then you can go into settings. So previously, this was its own dedicated kind of side panel. So you didn't even need to go into settings first. So they didn't move it. So you need to go into your regular settings, and there will be a personalization tab. Okay. And you'll see you can still have custom instructions going. So we're going to go over kind of the differences and the pros and the cons of working with each or working with one or the other. But then you'll see there's a simple memory toggle. So if you do maybe miss it on that pop-up and you don't enable it, or if you're starting to use it and later you're like, wait, this stinks, don't worry, you can always toggle it off. All right, so that's step one. You need to enable it in the settings. So here's what it's going to look like in action. All right, so I just did an example. I just started playing with this yesterday. We obviously had our big, 1 year anniversary show yesterday. So I've been a little busy. We had a show of Will AI Take Your Jobs? It was our longest show ever. So make sure you go check that out if you haven't already. But so when you go into ChatGPT and you enter something, essentially you're going to get this new little prompt, and it says memory updated. So in this example, I didn't have anything in, kind of the memory bank, so to speak. So, think of it like this: you bank memories. So if we literally think of the silo, the silo analogy that normally they work in silos. So think of it like this: you're going to have a base that's below all of your silos. So it doesn't matter. And this memory bank is that base. So it is going to selectively pull things out of your chats. And then you can go in and manage those memories as well. But this is essentially kind of like what it looks like for our live stream audience. Is it just committed these things to memory. So I just said in a new chat, I said, my name is Jordan. I like deep dish pizza. I'm from Chicago. And I said, people call me a robot sometimes. So right after I entered that, a new pop-up came. So I'm glad that ChatGPT did this piece, because when this first came out, I did a little video review on it, at least on the blog post, because they shared screenshots, they shared video recordings. And I said, this is terrible. I said, if OpenAI actually releases it like this is going to make ChatGPT bad for everyone, because in the original release, there was no pop-up kind of notification in your chat. So you could be chatting with ChatGPT, put in whatever information, and it would just commit things to memory. And at least in their initial release that very few beta testers had access to, you didn't know when things were kind of put in the memory bank versus when they weren't, which can be problematic. And we're going to talk about that. So I'm glad they made that update. Maybe me bugging OpenAI so much about certain things, who knows, maybe that influenced them. But now, at least in the chat, it will tell you memory updated. And then you get this little new pop-up that you probably haven't seen before. And it kind of shows you what was committed to memory. And then it gives you an option right within the chat to click on manage memory, which is pretty nice. So as an example, I said, my name is Jordan. I like deep dish pizza. I'm from Chicago. People call me a robot. So there's a little UI UX tweak here that I think that they should make, because I gave it multiple facts. And at least in this response back from ChatGPT, it looks like it just committed it as one memory, because it says Jordan likes deep dish pizza, is from Chicago, and is nicknamed Robot. Even though I didn't say I was nicknamed Robot, I just said people call me a robot. So little in the details there, but still. All right, so now I can go in and manage that memory if I want to. So here's the other thing that you need to know. So now I opened a brand new chat. So we just committed that to memory. I'm going to show you how you can manage or talk to you and tell you how you can manage that memory in the past. But I wanted to skip to the end and say, hey, here's how that works, right? So I kind of put those things into ChatGPT. ChatGPT decided this is an important detail that I'm going to commit to memory. And again, it will do that automatically. You can tell it, you can say, hey, put that in my memory. And it will do that. But, especially early on, it's going to be grabbing a lot of different things in your early on chats once you first enable this and just committing it to your memory. But then what happens, let's skip to the end. So I just opened a new chat and I said, write a poem about my favorite food. So in this case, I didn't have to mention a memory. I didn't have to tell ChatGPT what my favorite food was. And then it responds with, here's a poem about deep dish pizza inspired by your favorites, right? And then it even talks about about Chicago, right? Because I said I'm from Chicago. So you can see right away how this could be useful, right? I'm sure that so many of you have to spend a lot of time in ChatGPT or any other large language models, right? Kind of reminding a chat like, hey, like, I'm a researcher. This is what I do. This is the type of information that I care about. This is how I want your outputs to look. So all of these different things can be committed to memory. All right. And then you'll see, it's pretty useful in that regard, right? That you don't have to, always remind it of certain things about you. All right. So then you can manage your memory from the settings. So in the same way that you enabled it, you can also go click the manage button and then you can manage it. So I have some other kind of memory things here. I was trying to trip ChatGPT up. We always try to test these things and break them. So as an example, here in another chat, I said, hey, Bob hates pizza. So I was seeing if it could, if it was going to get mixed up. And if I said, hey, write a poem about my favorite food, if I gave it kind of conflicting, points of information, right? I said, hey, my name's Jordan. I love pizza. And then I just said an imaginary story about this guy named Bob who hates pizza. And I was seeing if it would trip up, but it didn't. But anyway, so you can go in and manage your memory. And you'll see, luckily here, so I said when it originally committed that kind of statement to memory, it looked like it was putting it in as one big chunk, but it didn't. So it made separate kind of memory instances. So it said Jordan likes deep dish pizza. That's one memory. Jordan is from Chicago. That's another memory. Jordan is nicknamed Robot. That's another memory. So what you can do from this manage memory section is you can delete them all individually, or you can clear the memory. So one thing that I would like to see is the ability to edit a memory. So like even as small example there, when it says Jordan is nicknamed Robot, I'm not. I was just saying people call me a robot sometimes. So I'd like to be able to edit that and update it. Or even from this instance, I think it would be great if you could add new memories here, but you cannot. So that's something important to keep in mind. Once ChatGPT has kind of committed something to your memory bank, you can't edit it. Also, you can't go into manage your memory and add or, can't edit things, but you can't add things either. All you can do is delete them. So you might have to, if you are trying to commit certain things to your ChatGPT memory, you can obviously tell it and say, hey, commit these things to memory, list them in bullet points on new lines, and it will kind of put it in that way. So that's probably how I would recommend people use this versus just giving, ChatGPT the freedom early on. So if you're going to go out and, test this today, or if you want to use it early next week for a project, I would suggest doing it like that, saying, hey, ChatGPT, commit these things to my memory, bullet point them, make them very specific. Otherwise, what's going to happen is ChatGPT is going to take some creative freedom in thinking what you want committed to memory and even how it interprets certain things that you say. So that's important. The managed memory part is a little tricky. Couple great questions here. From Woozy and Harold. So thanks for the questions. So Woozy said, interesting. In your opinion, as you're using it, does it feel like it's trying to commit the appropriate things to memory? So I'll say yes, again, but early on, I don't have a lot in the memory. I just started playing with this, probably for an hour so far, because yes, it did just release to most people within the last day or so. So I haven't had a ton of chance, Woozy, to play with it, but I do have some thoughts on that here later in my little presentation. And then Harold says, I'm guessing if you correct it, that it'll override its training information. Yes, that's a great question. So it will delete those pieces of memory. So let's say it gets something incorrect. So even if you are in the chat and say, I can say, oh, I'm not nicknamed robot. People just call me that, update the memory. It will actually delete the old one. So there won't be contradictory things. So yes, ChatGPT will on its own kind of manage the memory on its own. So it's not like, if I say, oh, people call me robot, it got it wrong. It said Jordan's nickname robot. So it's not going to have two of those different things. It will automatically delete the one, if I tell it to, or if it realizes that it made a mistake in committing something to memory. Great questions. Great questions. All right. So let's get this thing, let's keep going because here's some important things. So kind of number 5 thing that you need to know is you can start a temporary chat without memory. So you are going to have a new option when you go into ChatGPT after you've enabled memory is there's something called temporary chat. So this is important, and this is kind of where custom instructions actually come into play. And I'm going to tell you about that here in a second. So if you choose temporary chat, here's some of the toggles that come up. Also, I have 4 ChatGPT accounts. Apparently I need more because I have 2 on Teams and I have 2 on free, but I just realized I don't have any on the normal ChatGPT Plus. So I don't know if this current feature, so hey, if you do have normal ChatGPT Plus, which is $20 a month, I should actually explain them. So our team has ChatGPT Teams. So it's a little different. You pay an extra $10 a month, and there's actually a lot of nice features. There's some better sharing features, some more data control. And the thing that I actually like is you get double the limits. So you don't have that 40 message limit within a 3-hour period, which is what the ChatGPT Plus account limits are. So if you're on a Teams account, you actually have double that. You have 80 messages within a 3-hour window. But what I just realized is I believe this feature here may only be available to those on ChatGPT Teams. So apologies, but hey, if someone could let me know. So the temporary chat has something at the very bottom, but let me just tell you what it is. So it says not in history. It says temporary chats won't appear in your history. For safety purposes, we may keep a copy of your chat for up to 30 days. On a temporary chat, there's obviously no memory. So it says ChatGPT won't use or create memories in temporary chats. If you have custom instructions, they'll still be followed. Then it says no model training. So temporary chats won't be used to improve our models. Another important thing kind of related to this. So GPTs still work normally. However, you cannot commit things to memory right now while chatting with a GPT, just because for this very issue, because with the temporary kind of chat and what that kind of gives you a little additional, think of it like an incognito browser almost. So you're saying, hey, when I'm, doing all this chatting, it's not going to commit things to memory. So right now, at least as of my testing yesterday, the memory feature, if you are quote unquote talking to a GPT, will not work, mainly because, the third-party GPTs, it sounds like there's probably some data and security things that just aren't in place yet to be able to still have that, quote unquote, temporary chat functionality and still chat with third-party GPTs. So that's important to keep in mind. So let's get back to the temporary chat and see what that looks like. So I actually like the UI of this, right? So when you have a temporary chat, I like this. It tells you at the top, so that's good. So you don't have to say, okay, is this a temporary chat where I'm not using the memory? But so in this case, I said, what is my favorite food? And then ChatGPT says, I don't know what your favorite food is, but if you tell me, we can chat about it. So the good thing I like as well is at the bottom, the kind of text input box becomes this kind of a dark gray or black color. So it's nice. So you have multiple kind of reminders that this is a temporary chat and you're not using that memory feature. So you might ask why, right? Well, there might be times when I don't want ChatGPT to be maybe knowing about I'm writing about pizza or I'm from Chicago, right? So let's say I'm, or maybe you are writing something for a client. Maybe you're using this to write for, multiple clients. So that's something with this memory feature and even custom instructions, which we're going to get to in a second. That's something I don't necessarily like, that it's not always super easy to toggle this on and off. I wish that there was an ability to toggle this memory feature on and off within a chat, but you do almost have to go into this own dedicated mode of a temporary chat. Because here's what I think why that's problematic. I think a lot of people are going to start a normal chat. They're going to keep going. And then all of a sudden, they're going to get this crazy response, right? And they're going to be like, oh, I'm writing this for, I'm creating an SOP for a banking client. And now all of a sudden, it's bringing in my personal information. Like, what's going on here? And then you remember, oh, I'm in a normal chat, so it's bringing in all my memory. So you kind of have to start over at that point and go in and create a new chat and make sure it's temporary. So I wish that there was a way to toggle this on and off within individual chats, which is another reason why I don't use custom instructions. Kind of the same reasoning. So.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
So speaking of that, that is one of our last points that we want to make here in today's show, is it can be used with or instead of custom instructions. So when you do go in your settings and you go to personalization to look at your memory, you'll see that you can still use custom instructions and memory at the exact same time. So here's kind of the difference, okay? Custom instructions, if you haven't used them, or if you maybe don't know what they are, it is literally that. So you are giving instructions to ChatGPT specifically on how you want it to act or how it should perform. So you're kind of giving it instructions and you're saying, hey, when you respond, always respond in an informal tone. So this is where I think I wouldn't say confusion, but there's actually a lot of crossover here, because when you go into your custom instructions within ChatGPT, there's actually two different things. So custom instructions ask you, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses, which is kind of what this whole memory thing is. And then there's another feature or another segment in custom responses that says, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? So with memory, you should think of memory as certain details about whether your client, your business, the type of work that you're using ChatGPT for. So there is still a lot of crossover. And I think it's actually going to be problematic for people that like and use custom instructions to use memory, because there might be some conflicting or slightly different custom instructions versus what's in your memory. So at least for me personally, I don't like using custom instructions because, again, you have to either enable it or disable it account wide. So at least with the new memory feature, you can still use memory for some of those things that you might normally use custom instructions for. As an example, all of your replies should be in informal tone, or, when summarizing a long article, summarize in short bullet points. So you can still add those things to your memory, even though that might be something that you would generally use custom instructions for. So the benefit here, and kind of one of the reasons why I might be using this feature when I don't really use custom instructions, is for that. So I can have now different chats that are saved in my account. Some of them are using memory and some of them aren't, where at least with custom instructions, you do not have that ability. You have to essentially toggle it on and off for your entire account. So let's say if you did want to toggle custom instructions on and you were in an old chat, well, that one doesn't have custom instructions. So I kind of wish that ChatGPT would just merge these things. That would be a lot better. I think you kind of have these two different layers of customization. One, you can toggle with memory. You can toggle it on and off. Well, you can't really toggle it on and off, but you can choose a temporary chat, which essentially toggles it off. And then you have custom instructions, which again can only be toggled on and off system wide. So a little confusing there, I'd say, from ChatGPT. I would hope that OpenAI just combines these two features. But who knows? So that's something important. If you do want to use this new memory feature, again, think of it as you're pulling little bits and pieces of information, whether it's about you, your company, how you like to receive things. Maybe you like similes and metaphors, right? So you can add you can do this in custom instructions, but you can also do it in memory. You can say, when explaining complex topics, use similes or metaphors, right? So these are things, but they're going to follow you around in all of your chats unless you start a temporary chat. And then the last thing that's important to know, well, at least right now, this new memory feature is really slowing down responses. Again, I'm not sure how it's working under the hood, but in my testing, it is taking a little bit longer. Even if I'm, asking something that maybe is not related to memory or it's not pulling the memory, I'm finding the responses a little slower. The reason being now is, you could think of this as like super mini RAG, right? You're putting these, retrieval augmented generation, right? You're not putting in, gigabytes of files, but each time that you're now interacting with ChatGPT, it is kind of checking with this third party, quote unquote, but it's checking with your memory bank each and every time. And at least in my early testing, I did notice that it was markedly slower, not a lot, but maybe I would say response times were taking 30 to 50% longer. It could be because this is a new feature. It's not fully optimized. It could be there's an influx of new users trying out this feature, but at least right now, this was slowing down responses. So whether it was committing things to memory, checking if something that I talked about was in memory or not, or replying to something that was in the memory, this new feature was slowing ChatGPT down just a little bit. So that's something to keep into consideration. All right. So that is it. I think there's a couple of questions. Let's go ahead and get to them. So Tanya saying, doesn't this mean that ChatGPT could conduct sorry, this is very small font, essentially bio research on us? Yeah, I mean, technically, yes, but this has already been going on anyway. So OpenAI can use all of this information for training data. So if you do start a temporary chat, it doesn't do that, right? So it's not going to be training, its models on your memory and, how it responds to those memories. So yeah, I definitely, and Tanya, thanks for that. I always say never put any, confidential, proprietary, personal health information into any large language model, but the same thing, you probably shouldn't be putting in, very personal details, because in theory, those would be used to train future models. So that doesn't mean it's going to be in its data set, but it is going to be used to train their future models. Jonathan, good question. Says, is it clear how to define when you are using a temporary chat versus a non-temporary chat? Thanks for that reminder. Yes. So it does have the little banner up top, as well as the kind of darker response at the bottom. Whereas normally, if you're in a normal chat, it's kind of the white message input box. So you have kind of two different reminders there. All right. I think we made it to the end. So I hope this was helpful, getting this overview of the brand new memory chat. I'll tell you this. I'm going to be using this at least early on. I haven't used custom instructions because I use ChatGPT for a variety of tasks, right? I'm in ChatGPT essentially all day. And this is where, at least for custom instructions, having this blanket application to everything, to all of your chats didn't really work out for me. So I'll probably start using this because there are certain things that I would like to kind of commit to memory. And then having the ability to do this temporary chat is great as well. So if I don't want all of those kind of personal memory things to influence my other outputs, you have that option as well. So I would recommend that most people at least give this a try. It's going to work best. So this new memory feature is going to work best if you have a limited or a more limited use of ChatGPT. So let's just say you use it just for your business or just for personal, or maybe if you have clients, you use it just for helping create content or research for one client. But if you're using it for many different clients or many different reasons, or, personal, business, and side projects and clients, that's where I think you might run into some issues. And that's kind of how I use ChatGPT. So I'm going to give this a try. If you use ChatGPT a ton for many different use cases, I think it's going to be a little tricky to manage that quote unquote memory bank. I think it would be nice if in the future that if it gave you kind of profiles to work on and you could choose a profile and, hey, here's these 20 pieces of memory that go with my, personal profile. Here's these 20 pieces of memory that go with, the everyday AI business profile. But for me, I personally use ChatGPT and other large language models for so many varied use cases that I don't think I'm going to be able to get a ton out of the memory, but I'm going to try it out and I'm sure we'll be, checking in. So that's it. I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you think if this is going to be a feature that you use. So if this was helpful, please consider sharing this with your network, leaving us a review on Spotify or Apple if you're listening on the podcast. And hey, do not forget, do you literally have 3 friends? Do you have 3 people in your network? So literally to enter our giveaway, all you have to do is check our newsletter either from yesterday or from today. There's going to be a unique referral link. Grab that. You can post it on social media. You can email it to 10 people, to 2 people. You can text it to someone. All right. So right now, all you have to do is refer 1 friend to enter our giveaway. We're going to have multiple prizes, but our kind of marquee prize is these new AI-powered Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses. They're really cool. They just added this multimodal functionality so you can put them on and you can say, hey, Meta, what am I looking at? And it'll tell you. Really cool. And like I said, we didn't have a lot of entries yesterday, which is surprising. So, but that's good for you. So if you find value in everyday AI, please consider signing up for that referral contest. Check out the newsletter from yesterday or today. Tell a couple friends about it because, hey, as of yesterday, if you refer 3 people, you're in the lead for the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. So that's not hard. We all know 3 people. All right. So that's it. Make sure to go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for the free daily newsletter, check out our giveaway, which ends Monday, and we hope to see you back for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.